All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of S- Artist Stories of Middle Georgia. I'm your host, Victor Rigoli. And I just did an episode yesterday. It was actually to kick off the announcement of, hey, I'm doing a new podcast, that kind of thing. And I think I mentioned in there that, hey, I'll probably do another podcast to just tell my story. And so today I'm telling my story. So here we go. Just to tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Victor Rigoli. I've been in the Middle Georgia area just about all my life. I grew up here in the Middle Georgia area. I live just south of Macon in a small town. Um, been down here for over 25 years, almost close to 30 years. But anyway, just a little bit about, my artistic journey or story. It started back in high school or junior high. I was going into the eighth and ninth grade. I took art. I was very good at art. I made A's in art. That was the helped my GPA. I probably excelled in that better than I did in anything else that I took. Um, but I got pretty good in the ninth grade to where, I mean, we did the traditional stuff. I mean, the pencil and charcoal drawings and stuff like that, and some painting, and we did some pottery, paper mache. We did all kinds of a variety of things. Okay, but I was pretty good at it, and my teacher recognized that, and my teacher asked me if I wanted to participate in a program with a Mercer University art student, and he explained to me what that was about, and I got permission from my parents, and the student, she came and picked me up once or twice a week, and we drove down to Mercer University and went into the art department, and we just talked about different art. It's my memory of some of that is a little vague, as time goes on. I start forgetting certain things, that were like date myself over 50 years ago. But anyway, um, we I did some pottery, I did some sketching, we talked about art, a tour of the apartment, all that kind of stuff, and I think she really talked to me more about, "Hey, this could be something you could do. You should try to pursue this, when you graduate high school, stay with art, graduate high school, go to college, yada yada." Okay. But anyway, after we did that several weeks. But anyway, after the ninth grade, you go in the 10th grade at that time in the senior high building, and art wasn't on the horizon. It wasn't in the picture, you know. Um, and I started dating, as a lot of young guys do, and driving. I had a motorcycle, all this kind of stuff. So art just wasn't important. You get out of high school, you start life. I found myself in 1980 taking some um, painting lessons from um, an artist in Macon. Her studio was out off of Forsyth Road, and I went and took, I don't know, three, maybe four lessons. Did some paintings and everything, but at that time, uh, money was tight, and it just wasn't economically feasible for me to continue because, as you fellow artists out there know, art supplies ain't cheap, and so they cost a lot of money. And when your budget's tight and everything, then it was just like I said, it wasn't feasible for me to continue, so I quit. And we go on with life and that kind of thing. And fast forward some, gosh, what, 40 years, I want to say. COVID comes along in 2020. I mean, it's kicking up, as we know, in 2019, but when 2020 hit, I mean, I was working full time still, and um, I found myself in March, um, not March, but it was January. My wife and I were at Hobby Lobby, and she knew that I could do some drawing and stuff. I mean, gosh, years ago we were dating, and I had a sketch pad I came across, and here's some of the sketches I did. And I did a pencil slash charcoal drawing of Marilyn Monroe, some 40 years or so ago. And, I did try to dabble a little bit in paint. So she knew I had some artistic ability, and she just happened to have a gift card that she'd gotten from her employer for Christmas, and she said, "Here, I've got this. Why don't you buy you some paint, some brushes, and canvas, and do a little painting." I don't know what inspired her to say that. We were in the art department at Hobby Lobby. I was there first. I'm always there first. It's weird because when we go in, a place like that, automatically I'm going back to the art department and she's going who knows where all over the store, looking for what whatever she needs or just looking. And she usually has to come and find me. And it's kind of the opposite when husband and wife go shopping at a place like that. The husband's got to track down the wife. Where are you? I'm ready to go. But anyway, she had this gift card, and I bought some stuff, some little canvas panels and some cheap paint brushes and stuff, and a little desktop easel. I brought it home and set it up, and I set it up in the kitchen, and we had a table in there, and I put an old tablecloth down, and I was doing oil paint. Um, I'm not sure why I bought the oil paint versus acrylic, but I did buy the oil paint, and started dabbling with it a little bit and I I came across, Bob Ross videos on YouTube, and I just kept watching a bunch of Bob Ross videos. I'd stay up late at night watching Bob Ross videos, just trying to learn a little bit, and watching him and that kind of thing. And Bob Ross said, "Hey, he's not the greatest artist. His artwork is not museum quality. We all know that." But the thing about Bob is he inspired people to become artists, and he inspired me to become an artist. Now, it was funny that family members, because, I would watch some Bob Ross and all that kind of stuff. He's so popular. Everybody's, oh, Bob Ross, when you talk about art and doing painting, oh, Bob Ross. Well, they don't think about, Paul Monet, or they don't think about Van Gogh. It's always Bob Ross, Bob Ross. And, I was watching this stuff and learning some things. And I tried. Believe me, I tried to do his style. It it just wasn't for me. I couldn't do it, and I didn't like it, to be honest. Of all the videos that I watched, I did only one real copy of a Bob Ross painting. I mean, I followed along, and it was a weird one, and it was on a black canvas, and it had some different colors, some blues and yellows and greens and stuff like that on it, and some light shining through the trees and what have you. And I still have that probably out in the shop in the garage somewhere. But anyway, it inspired me to try to get better and be better. But I just couldn't deal with that. It just wasn't me, okay, or my style. So I started, you know, um, taking or watching other artists and purchase some of their tutorials and things like that. I mean, I went as far as buying some of the Bob Ross brushes, from Amazon or wherever, and, I don't think I bought his paint. I used other paint, probably some paint that I got at, Hobby Lobby. But, I kinda started growing a little bit as far as my, um your, footprint in the kitchen, and my wife, after about 2 months, she says, "Babe, I love you, but I gotta have my kitchen back." So, I thought, "Well, where am I gonna go?" So, I said, "Well, I'll go out in the garage." There's a little 8 by 10 foot or 8 by 9 foot shop out there, and I cleaned it up, got everything set up, and I just started out there. And that was about the time, in March, that I was still working full time. We were sent home because of COVID. Shut down, everybody go home, start working from home, that kind of thing. And so I would work 7:30 to 4, and once I was done with that, then I'd start working on my art. And I was like a sponge. I just absorbed as much as I possibly could. I watched a bunch of tutorials. I did a lot of paint alongs. I mean, back then, it's still working. My time was limited, and so there were nights that I'd be out there at 11 o'clock at night. My wife's, dead asleep in the bed. Come the weekend, I might be up at 2 o'clock in the morning on Friday or Saturday night, just trying to learn, painting along. And my wife, bless her heart, she's my biggest fan, and I really appreciate that, and, I was getting better, and she would ask me to paint certain things for the house. "Hey, do you think you could paint a couple pictures that look like this, and maybe put them over the couch," and that kinda thing, and it's funny, uh, a couple of those paintings that I did, I don't know if I built the frames for them or I had frames and I said, "Okay, let me cut a piece of board," and I just did it was almost like a real nice piece of thin, uh, something like plywood, and I put gesso on it, and I painted on it, and I still have some of that today, but actually I turned it into scraps and I made stuff out of 'em. I cut them up because, and I look back at it, it's kind of a reminder for me as to where I've come. But anyway, starting off 5 years ago, and then, I just kept getting better and better, and I self-taught, pretty much self-taught. I have taken some lessons from another artist and everything, and, I've kinda networked with different artists and learned from them, taken tutorials, workshops, things of that nature, and, my artistic ability improved over time, and it's true. You gotta practice, but do the right way of practicing. Talent's a little overrated, but if you just get in there and work hard and work hard and work hard, you will see some improvement. And it's really neat to look at paintings from 5 years ago, even paintings for a year or 2 years ago, to see how much I've grown and changed during that time. And, in the early days, I put things out on Facebook and people were like shocked. They couldn't believe that I was painting. I never knew you had this talent. I never knew you could paint. Why have you been hiding that talent? I don't know. Well, part of it is I didn't have time. I was heavily involved in church and family and raising children and all this kind of stuff. And so, when your kids get older and they start moving out and they're independent and all that kind of stuff, you start finding yourself a little bit more time. And but anyway, I decided I said, well, people like my work. I had some people reach out to me and ask me if some of it because I was just putting things on Facebook. And then somebody said, and I learned, well, create you an Instagram account. So I did that. And then, saying, okay, well, how can I sell my artwork? How can I get recognized? That kind of thing. So I invested in having a website created, one of the website companies, and have a website today. But Facebook for me I've been more successful off of Facebook and Instagram, that kind of thing, and word of mouth, repeat customers, commissions, things of that nature. So anyway, I was getting better and better, and people were asking me to paint things, doing commissions, uh, either for themselves or to give as a gift for someone, and that was really great, and that's really satisfying because it helps you to realize that, "Hey, I am getting pretty good at this, and people are recognizing that and recognizing my work," and that's just totally awesome. Um, but anyway, continue to, work hard, put some paintings in the fair, the Georgia National Fair, 2, 3 years ago, probably 3 years ago this past October of 2024, I did not put anything in the fair because I had a show going on up in Macon at Greenlight Gallery the month of September, and I was extremely busy during the month of August and all of September with that, and I just didn't have the time. I just didn't wanna fool with it. My wife still works. I had retired back in, oh, let's see, retired in May of '22. So coming up this May, I'll be retired 3 years, and so I've been painting pretty much full time since then. Um, Full time, except for all my husband duties that I take care of, because as I mentioned earlier, my wife still works, bless her heart, and I appreciate that. And she and I have been married for almost 30 years. And when our kids were young, we made the decision for her to stay at home, be a stay at home mom. We made sacrifices to make that happen. She made sacrifices to make that happen and everything. And you really don't understand or gain an appreciation for what your spouse does until you're kinda in that situation, and what I mean by that is being retired, I just took it upon myself to say, "Hey, I'm gonna do the grocery shopping, I'm gonna do the laundry, as much of it as I can, I'll help, run the dishwasher, all that kinda stuff." She loves to cut the grass, whatever. But I just took on doing more things, and it made me realize, well, she did all that when I was working, and it made me really appreciate her, love and support for our family and the sacrifices that she made for all of us, and so it's just payback, in my opinion. I don't mind doing it. But being retired now does allow me to get up in the morning, come upstairs to my studio because 'cause I'm in the studio here. I got a couple paintings back here that I was recently working on. I got one back over here that I've been working on too, and back way back behind me, there's a row of different paintings. But I'm in the studio upstairs, and this is a room above the garage. And my oldest child lived up here until they moved out in it might have been 2022, maybe. It might be approaching 3 years this summer. Um, but when I retired and then they moved out, in fact, I think I think they moved out prior to that time, to be honest with you, because, I was working still, and I was here in the studio, and I had my work laptop and monitor and all that kinda stuff up here, and so I had a dedicated workstation, and so I'd work up here, and then when I was finished, I'd, go over to the, easel and have my palette and everything set up on the other side of the room, and I would paint. So it was probably before 2022, they moved out, but I moved up here and I've got twice the space and it's just really great and things have just been progressing for me. I, um, did a show back September of last year. I met the owner of Greenlight Gallery, a year ago, this month actually. Um, may have been early March or late February. I had gone downtown to sign up for and turn in some information about a plein air event that the Macon Arts Alliance was sponsoring, and you were to paint pretty much during the 3-week period or so. Part of that was Cherry Blossom time, the Cherry Blossom Festival here in Middle Georgia and Macon, Georgia, and then you'd go back in April and pick up your artwork or turn it in, and they'd have a judging and all that kind of stuff. But I had to turn in some paperwork, and I just walked down the street. There was another gallery, there, 567, right down on the other end of the block from, Macon Arts Alliance, and right next door to it was Greenlight Gallery, and I saw somebody in there, and I went in and struck up a conversation, introduced myself, talked about my artwork, showed Hazel Caldwell, the owner, some of my artwork. She really liked it. She said she wanted to do a solo show, which I was just shocked and pleasantly surprised that she would do that. And then, we all get busy, and she goes, I think they went to France during the summer, and, you got vacations and stuff. And so I think it was July time period. I reached back out and said, "Hey, you still want to do the show for me?" And she said, "Yeah." So we got the ball rolling and I did the show in September. So I had a solo show the whole month of September of 24, which was awesome. And I got to work down there, volunteer and help out, do a bunch of stuff. So it was good, very good experience for me. And I got to meet other artists and, I sold some work, which was great. Um, so that really boosted things for me. Um, and then, I sold some things, through Facebook and other social media and that kind of thing. Um, but it's been hit or miss sometimes, to be honest. I'm just gonna be honest here. I mean, goodness, it is. You hear about the starving artist. I mean, there are some artists. I mean, you can see them on YouTube and stuff, and they do a lot of prints and their art's different and what have you. And so, they may be making six figures. I hope to do that one day myself. My art, just tell you a little bit about that. Um, I'm an oil painter. These are all oil. These are landscapes. I love landscapes. Mostly, I love the coast of Georgia. Okay. I'm a beach person. I love going to the beach. I love sitting out in the sun. I've been like this since I was, preteen and teenager because we went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, and camped for a week or 2 every summer right after school let out. Did that for years, and I just fell in love with the beach. I'd rather go to the beach than go to the mountains or anything. Take me to the beach. My wife, thank goodness, is like that too. She loves the beach, so we have that in common. But I love going down to Jekyll and St. Simons, and I love painting the marshland, okay, the coastal area, the seascapes, beach scenes, things like that. That's what I really love to paint. I do some golf course paintings, the Masters, Augusta National. I've done some for Pebble Beach. I painted a couple commission pieces for my cousin who actually played out at Pebble Beach. Did that for his birthday last year. So yeah, but those are the three things. It's I do it landscape under landscape. You've got the marshlands, and then you got seascape. I don't do as many ocean scenes or big waves or anything like that. Um, I have done that, but golf, like to do golf too. But but then I'm trying to do some different stuff too. I'm not this abstract. I think of something and just start, you know, putting paint on a canvas and wow, look at what I created. That's just not me. Other people are like that. I totally get it. I admire them for their creativity. They'll have an idea and they kind of, start experimenting and they put something together and wow, it's wonderful. I'm just different. Okay. I like using photo references. I like taking my own. There's Facebook groups that you can join that allow you to use their photos. I've done that. I've got friends that allow me to use their photos. So there's not an in, there's a great supply of reference photos out there if you know how to find them, and those that are free and copyright. That's the ones you need to use. But anyway, so I just over the last 5 years, it was 5 years this past January that I've been painting. And I was fortunate enough, back probably, I don't know, October of last year, maybe November, Glen Visual Arts on St. Simon Island. Um, I, I was, looking at their website and that kind of thing. And I found out that they had a call for some artists to do a show. And so I submitted some work and I forgot about it. Didn't think anything else about it. I can only think of maybe one painting that I submitted, that I can remember. I think I submitted 3. There's only one that really stands out, as I'm pretty sure I sent that one. But all of a sudden, I get an email, and it's like, "Hey, Victor, guess what? You've been selected to be the featured artist at our extended gallery at Hotel Simone on St. Simon's Island, the months of July through September of 2025." And it's like, "You gotta be kidding me." I had forgotten all about that. And it's like, "Really?" So, um, I went down there in January. Of course, I was corresponding, with the person that's over it, and everything, trying to get particulars and all that. And so my in-laws live down in Jessup, Georgia, which is another hour or more, from to St. Simons. From where they live, and so I went down to visit them, and I drove on down to the island. I went and saw the person at the hotel that's in charge of setting things up, for the, uh, Glen Visual Arts, that kinda thing, and I just took pictures and measurements, and it's a small area, nothing like when I was at Greenlight Gallery, such great wall square footage there. I mean, it's just unbelievable, but anyway, so what I have to do is I have to do smaller pieces, and so that's what I've been working on, the last, 3 months or so. I've been working on some smaller pieces. These are gonna be more like 8 by 8, 10 by 10, 12 by 12, some 8 by 16s. There could be a couple that are a little larger, maybe one 16 by 20. Now, I do have an 18 by 24, painting of the Golden Bell, the 12th green at Augusta National that I'm gonna take, and I really do like that painting, and hopefully it'll sell. That's that's the largest, and there is one area that it will fit. So that's the largest, and of course, people come down to St. Simons, some come down to golf, some come down to enjoy the beach, so some of the paintings are gonna be, the beach, the marsh, that kind of thing. But I'm also trying to do some paintings of the certain landmarks in St. Simon's area, like the lighthouse in Fort Frederica, and there's a beautiful old cypress tree there close to the pier, St. Simon's. I've got a painting of that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I think I've got all the paintings identified, and so yeah, it's going to be probably 25 pieces that I'll be taking down there for that. But really looking forward to that, and that's just a little bit about some of the things that I've got going on. Um, I enjoy talking with other artists and meeting other artists, trying to get to know them a little bit better. What are they passionate about? Like me, I'm passionate about painting the marshlands of coastal Georgia. I will do some of South Carolina as well. I like the ocean, seeing the beach scene, the sea oats and waves and things like that. I love that. Golf, I love that. This is just me. It's just who I am. I'm an oil painter. I love working with oils. Now, nothing wrong with acrylic. I've tried doing some things with acrylics. Maybe I just didn't get the right instruction, and maybe I just didn't give it enough time. But I've seen some beautiful work from acrylic artists. It's great. Maybe one day I'll branch out and try to do some more acrylic. Now, last year I started experimenting and painting with gouache, and that's a new medium for me. And I was able to create some Christmas cards, birthday cards, things like that. 4 inch by 3 inch, 5 by 7, something like that, small. And it's a personal touch. And then I did little name tags, gift tags for Christmas. And all the gifts that we gave away had a hand painted gift tag on it, and so that's a keepsake right there. Hopefully they don't throw that away in the garbage. Oh, Victor painted that, because I put my little stamp on the back that it's from me, it's authentic, etc. So, but anyway, that's a little bit about me. I'm getting close to this episode being about 30 minutes, and I'm hoping that future episodes, will run about 30 minutes, 45 at the most. Because after a while, you kind of, you get tired of talking, and excuse me, you run out of things to say. But this is going to be a fun adventure journey for me. I've got stay tuned, because I've got interview lined up for this coming Friday. This today is, gosh, it's last week of March, um, and I think today's 26, something like that. So anyway, this Friday I'm interviewing an artist, and then I've got another one I reached out to, and I'll be getting with them probably late April. But I've got a few others that I'm going to get set up and try to do something every week for you guys, so that you can meet the artists in Middle Georgia and hear their stories and learn a little bit about them. But I hope you like this content. If you do, please give me a like. Um, Leave me a comment if you know an artist that is in the Middle Georgia area that you think, wow, you ought to interview so and so. Drop me a line. I know that you can reach out to me via Facebook and send me a message, but you can also through YouTube. I put my contact information in there for the video. Now I am on Spotify as well, so hopefully folks can catch my podcast there. But thanks, guys, so much for tuning in. Appreciate your support, and come back. I mean, we're going to have a bunch of different artists, and uh, there's no telling how many artists I'll be able to interview. And I even thought about this too. I said, what if there's about 25 or 30 artists? Well, that's 25 or 30 weeks. Well, guess what? It's not going to hurt me to interview an artist a second time around, because it may be 2 years before I can meet with them again, and things change. Maybe they're painting in a different medium. Um, maybe they're doing something different. And it'd be great just to share that. But anyway, thanks guys again for you know, being a part of this on this little journey here that I'm taking, and I look forward to you know, being with you guys in the future. And but anyway, everybody take care. Have a great day, and we'll see you in the next podcast. Bye, everybody.